Hey guys, welcome to another practice with me. My name is Alex, and today I'm going to be guiding you in a practice geared towards prenatal yoga. So this is for anybody who's carrying a child and maybe you don't feel comfortable or not too sure how to go about continuing to do yoga poses. It's really important to mention that if you have not really worked on a lot of flexibility prior to becoming pregnant, it's really maybe not the best time to get into it now, but maybe more just develop strength in your legs and in your arms. The reason being, as your body begins to change, it releases muscles to become more elastic. And so you don't want to kind of overdo it or hurt yourself, but feel free to modify as much as you want. I think the best thing to note for prenatal yoga is the use of props. So if you have a blanket, a thick blanket or a towel, definitely a pair of blocks, and then a bolster is what I recommend for this practice. And you can really take it as you want. If you feel like it's too much, just kind of modify or just go back into a child's pose at any time just to relieve any pressure. We're actually going to begin our practice today in child's pose, and if you want, you can utilize the blocks to kind of help you get a little bit deeper depending upon which trimester you're in. So you can lay them flat, you can lay them up. So coming to your mat, take your knees to the width of your mat. Try to keep your base on your toes. But we're going to reach our hands out, and I'm going to show you more of the modified versions during this practice just so that you can see what they look like and how to kind of go about getting into them and out of them. So when you're ready, we're going to walk our hands forward like we will. If you feel like you're comfortable and you can lay down, go ahead and do that. If not, bring your blocks sort of underneath of your forearms and just breathe here for a few rounds of breaths. Two more rounds. And just ever so gently push yourself back up to a seated position. We're going to flip our legs around, and you can keep your legs cross-legged. And we're just going to begin to take some side stretching. So you might not need the blocks for this, so just set them aside. But we're going to begin by just inhaling our arms up and exhaling our arms down. Inhaling our arms up and exhaling our arms down. Inhaling our arms up, exhaling our arms down. On the next inhale, we're going to bring our arms up, twist our body to the right, drop your left hand down and your right arm behind your back. Try to see if you can twist open. The goal is to try to get your gaze over your right shoulder, but again, listen to your body, go where it's telling you to go. And stay here for 2 rounds of breaths. On the next inhale, raise those arms up towards the ceiling, nice straight back, and then twist over to the left, placing your right hand on your left knee, your left hand behind your base. Looking over that left shoulder, staying here for 2 full rounds of breaths. On an inhale, coming back up to center. We're going to go to the right side again and twisting open to our right. So place your left hand on your right knee, look over your right shoulder, and breathe. Lifting our arms up on the inhale and twisting over gently to the left. We don't want to move with any type of strenuous force for a prenatal practice. We really just want to be gentle in twisting and stretching and flexing. Coming back to center, dropping those arms down and pushing ourselves up into the tabletop position. Now you can stay here. You can also use those blocks if it helps, just kind of lift you up a little bit more, creating more space, depending upon which part of your pregnancy that you're in. But we're going to begin by doing a series of cat-cows. So on an inhale, we're going to drop our body, our belly, down to the ground and look our eyes and head up forward. And on the exhale, we're going to round our spine and see if we can get into stretch to the ceiling. We're just going to go through 5 rounds of this. If you can go at your own pace, try to keep your legs and knees, hips width distance apart. If you feel like you need to go a little bit wider just to give yourself some more room, that's totally fine. But when you're ready, on the inhale, dropping our bellies low, looking up. On the exhale, rounding out our spine, tucking our chin. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. And 3 more rotations at your own pace. And then coming back to a neutral spine. We're going to do some threading of the needle. And again, if this is too much for you, feel free to modify. You can also use a blanket to kind of help support your cheek and shoulder so that you rest on it. But we're going to stay in a tabletop position. And we're going to inhale our right arm up. Just hold it here for a minute, breathing in. And on the exhale, we're going to thread that right arm underneath our left. Walk our left hand out in front of us and really just try to twist our body open. Maybe resting your head and shoulder on that towel, providing, or blanket, providing a little bit of support. Keeping our hips up. Just staying here for 2 breaths. And on the inhale, coming back up slowly, reaching that right arm up and dropping it back down. Now we're going to do the same thing on the left. So this time, inhale that left arm up and exhale that left arm underneath our right, dropping down to our blanket, maybe walking that left hand out in front of us and twisting open. And staying here for 2 full rounds of breath. On an inhale, lifting ourselves back up to tabletop. We're going to do the same thing on both sides, but this time we're going to incorporate a little bit of a leg stretch into this as well. So when you're ready, lift that right arm up. Thread the needle underneath of our left. Walk our left hand out. Staying here for 2 breaths. See if you can open up a little bit farther. Maybe this is where you go. Maybe you need to bend the arm just to give yourself a little bit of support. Again, whatever you need. And after your 2 breaths, if you're feeling stable, take your left leg and kind of kickstand it out. Just giving our hip a little bit of an opening. And just stay here for 3 breaths. On the next inhale, bending that left leg back to the ground and walking ourselves back up. We're going to do the same thing on the left. So when you're ready, inhale that left arm up, threading the needle through, walking our right hand out in front of us. And if you feel like you want to go a little bit further, take that right leg and kind of kickstand it out to the side, opening up that right hip. Just giving ourselves a little bit more support to get deeper into this twist. And stay here for 3 breaths. On the next inhale, moving that right leg back in, gently lifting ourselves back up, coming to our tabletop. I'm going to remove the blanket from our mat right now, and I'm going to bring back those blocks. And what we're going to do is we're going to push up into our first downward facing dog. And the reason I utilize the blocks is just to give myself more support, but more space, especially if I'm in my 2nd or 3rd trimester. I might not feel like I can get that low to the ground like I normally would if I wasn't pregnant. So just providing more space and also moving my hips a little bit wider to the width of my mat and pushing back into my hips to try to get them as high as we can, just looking through our arms towards the wall behind us and just staying here for 2 breaths. On the next inhale, we're going to lift up to our toes and slowly try to straight leg walk up to the front of our mat. Take as many steps as you need. You can keep the blocks close by, just out of our way for right now. We're going to just hang here in a forward fold. Again, if you need to spread your legs a little bit wider, and I'll turn briefly towards the camera just so that you can see, just giving them a little bit further out from hips width distance. And maybe you utilize the blocks because you can't touch the ground all the way. And remember, the blocks have different lengths, so maybe this is as far as you can go, but just kind of hanging here for a few moments, breathing in and out, in and out. One more round, in and out. Coming up to halfway lift, nice flat back. You can rest your hands on your thighs or your knees. Maybe if you can get a little bit deeper, go down to your shins. But again, listen to your body. On the exhale, folding forward. Inhale, rise up to Tadasana. Taking our arms over top, reaching up, nice straight spine. Exhaling our hands down to the ground. On the inhale, raising our arms up, Exhale, folding forward. We're gonna come to those blocks and we're gonna drop back to a modification of a chaturanga. So you can go into a plank, okay? And instead of bending our arms like we usually do, you can either drop to your knees on your blocks, or if you want to just work with a mat, that's fine. And maybe resting your legs, moving into an upward facing dog, and then lifting back into a downward facing dog. Or coming from that plank, you can move right into that upward facing dog and just pushing back down into a downward facing dog. Staying here for a full round of breaths. On the inhale, lifting those toes, and again, walking up towards the mat. We're going to stay here for a breath. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up to Tadasana, taking as long as you need. Exhaling the arms down. We're going to inhale our arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Taking our feet back into a plank and either kind of flipping through to an upward facing dog and then back down into a downward facing dog, or taking that modification I showed you where we drop our knees, maybe hinge forward, and then when you're ready, lifting back up. And just staying here for 2 breaths. Inhaling on our toes and exhaling our heels back down to the ground. We're going to do this 2 more times. Inhaling on our toes, exhaling our heels to the ground. 1 more time, inhale and exhale. And when you're ready, moving back into that plank position and bringing that right foot into the center of our blocks. Now we can stay here and then rotate our left foot so that it's parallel with the mat. And maybe raising our right block up, we're going to take a side angle pose on the right. And just hold this here. Giving ourselves a nice stretch in the side body. Maybe you can take it to an extended side angle, or maybe even taking that right arm around the back. But again, gentle and listen to your body. And on the exhale, coming back to that plank position, we're going to rotate our legs, bringing our left leg in between our blocks. This time, lifting up with our right arm, flattening out our right foot so that it's parallel to the mat, and taking side angle on the left. So you can stay here, or take extended side angle. Maybe you want to reach your arm around the back. And on the exhale, coming back to our plank, going through a vinyasa, or simply you can just push back to a downward facing dog. Listen to your body and listen to what it needs. We're going to slowly walk ourselves back up to the tops of our mat, halfway lift, forward fold, coming into our first chair pose. Now, typically in chair pose, your toes are supposed to touch, your heels are supposed to be slightly apart, with arms raised up, dropping down. Now, when you're carrying a child, it becomes a little bit more difficult, especially in the legs. So it's okay to take those legs hip-width distance apart, maybe even a little bit wider, just to give yourself more support, and you can drop down into a chair pose. And we're just gonna stay here, try to keep your arms and your shoulders relaxed. Just breathing, focusing on building strength. And on the exhale, we're going to gently fold forward again. You can come back to your blocks, put them at any width or height that you need. And on the inhale, we're going to raise up for halfway, lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, back down to chair pose. And we're going to stay here for 2 full rounds of breaths. On the next inhale, folding forward, halfway lift, moving into your adaptation of chaturanga. So this time I'm going to come forward, moving into upward facing dog, and lifting back down into downward facing dog, staying here for 1 round of full breaths. On the next inhale, lifting my right leg open and bringing it through to plant it for warrior 1. So I'm going to have my left leg at a 45. My right leg is nice and straight in front. I'm going to come up, checking my alignment, checking my hips, trying to get that bend into the knee for a nice 90-degree angle. Lifting my arms up, staying here, maybe doing a reverse warrior subtly, and then coming back down and moving in for our modified chaturanga. On the inhale, lifting my left leg up, moving it forward, planting it through, dropping my right leg down to a 45 so that my toes are facing out on an angle, checking my alignment in my hips, moving my arms up, shoulders relaxed, staying here for a few breaths. Maybe reversing my warrior, coming down for a modified chaturanga. Maybe inching forward and lifting myself back up. Staying here for 2 breaths. On the next inhale, raising that right leg up, pulling it through for warrior 1, slowly rising up, staying here for a breath. Opening up to warrior 2, keeping that nice straight T in our arms, dropping my left foot back to be parallel with the mat, and looking over our middle finger. Just staying here, breathing into this posture. We're building strength in our arms and strength in our legs. Windshield, the hands, cartwheeling the hands down, twisting that back leg forward, maybe moving that right back foot or right leg back and maybe going just up into a downward facing dog, or again, moving through your modified vinyasa or chaturanga. Staying here for a breath. On the next inhale, lifting that left leg forward, planting that left foot, twisting our right foot to a 45, coming up for warrior 1, keeping our shoulders relaxed, our hips facing forward in a straight alignment. On an inhale, opening up to warrior 2, taking our back foot and making it parallel with our mat, keeping that nice straight T in the arms, and just breathing into this position. Again, building strength. Cartwheeling the arms down to our blocks. Maybe twisting the right foot, bringing the left foot back, Moving through your chaturanga and meeting me in downward facing dog. And take 2 full rounds of breaths here. On the next inhale, lift up onto your toes and try to just walk all the way up to the top of your mat. We're gonna come into Malasana, some nice hip opening postures that are actually gonna prepare us for childbirth. So I recommend using your blocks. You can stack them one on top of the other, or you can just work with one, whatever you're comfortable with. But I'm gonna invite you to sit your seat on those blocks and just open up your legs to that Malasana pose. Now, if you want to get a little bit deeper, utilize those elbows in pushing open those hips. You should feel a nice stretch here. Right? If you feel like you want to get a little bit deeper, maybe remove one of the blocks, sitting on a lower level, and just breathe. On the next inhale, we're going to take our arms down to the ground and just push up into a wide-legged forward fold. Now, you can utilize the blocks, allowing you to come up a little bit higher, providing more space, but try to take your legs to the width of the mat and just stay here. You can bend forward. Maybe if you want to get down a little bit further, you can just drop the forearms to the blocks and just breathe into this position. On an inhale, lifting those arms back up to your blocks, maybe bringing your stance in a little bit more, and bring the blocks to center. We're gonna take a side opening twist here. So just drop your right hand to one block and lift your left arm up to the sky, holding it here, trying to see if you can open up a little bit more. Coming back down to center, lifting that right arm up. Coming back down to center, inhaling that left arm up one more time. See if you can open up a little bit more. Coming back down, same thing on the right. Just really trying to open up the back and the chest. Coming down to forward, kind of just heel toe your feet back up to a hips width distance. Staying here in a forward fold, coming up to halfway lift, forward fold, and rising your arms back up to standing Tadasana. We're going to take some balance poses now. So I'm going to invite you to shift your weight to the left leg, lift up those left toes, and really root them down into the ground so that all of your weight is evenly distributed. Now, you can kickstand your right foot up, open up your arms so that your palms are facing out, And just stay here for a breath. Maybe on the next, you either raise that right foot up to meet your calf, or if you're feeling this flexibility, you can lift that right leg up to the top of your thigh. But again, listen to your body, and if it's not in your practice, then don't go there. You can even just keep your leg kickstand on the ground like we started out with, and just breathe here. We're going to stay here for 3 breaths. On the next inhale, dropping that right leg to the ground, maybe taking a couple of those shakes with our legs, working out any areas that really don't serve us at this point. And then we're going to move in to the right side. So taking that right foot, lifting those right toes up, spreading them out, and just gripping down into the ground. We're going to kickstand that left foot up so that our ankle or our heel meets our other ankle. Flipping our arms facing out, and just stay here for a breath. Seeing where you can go on this right side, maybe lifting up to your calf and staying here for 3 breaths. Or if you have it in your practice to lift that left leg up onto your right thigh, you can raise that tree balancing pose a little bit higher, staying here for 3 breaths. The key is just not to put your foot anywhere near your knee, because we don't want to cause any injury. And finding balance, rounding into the floor, and focusing on our breath. And releasing our left leg back to the ground, again, shaking out this position. We're going to move into an airplane pose. So before we do that, we'll get into a crescent lunge. So come to the top of your mat. Spread your legs so that they're hips width distance apart. We're going to sit back into a chair pose. And staying here for a full round of breaths. We're going to lift that left leg up and fly it back so that we're now in a crescent lunge on the right side. The balls and heel of your feet should be up, really grounding down into the sole of our right foot. And when you're ready, we're going to just lift forward into a warrior 3. Kicking up with our heel, maybe you drop your arms back for a little bit more support, keeping that neck nice and long. And when you're ready, bringing that left foot down to meet the mat. And we're going to inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. On the next inhale, dropping down for another chair pose, staying here for a full breath. On the next inhale, lifting up that right leg and shooting it back for crescent lunge. Staying here before moving into our warrior 3 on the left. So when you're ready, inhaling forward, kicking up with our heel, keeping those arms nice and straight, or maybe dropping them to the sides, whatever is going to serve your balance. And when you're ready, bringing that right foot up to meet the left, dropping our arms, taking 2 breaths in and out. In and out, raising our hands up on the inhale Exhale, folding forward. Coming back to those blocks if you have them. Pulling our feet to the back, either staying here and moving into downward dog or going through your modified chaturanga. Wherever you choose to go, meeting us back in downward facing dog. And then we're going to drop our knees, keeping them to the width of the mat. We're going to move into a child's pose and just take 3 rounds of breaths here. Again, you can utilize the blocks. You can put them on your forearms, just creating a little bit more space, giving yourself a couple moments to catch your breath. When you're ready, walking yourself back up. We're going to come into a hero's pose. So you can either utilize your blocks, or if you have a bolster, you can utilize the bolster and just sit, kind of straddling the bolster and keeping your knees bent. And we're just going to stay here for 2 breaths. Maybe with the bolster, we twist to the left. See if we can open up. Just holding this here for a few breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Maybe switching and twisting to the right for 2 rounds of breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Coming back to a neutral hero's position, staying here for another round of breaths. We're going to remove the bolster and just come onto our base, if it wants to move. And just keep the feet straight out in front of you. We're going to just begin by doing some light stretching. So on an inhale, raising the arms up. Maybe also place the blocks on either side of your ankles. So inhale your arms up. Exhale, forward fold. You can keep the feet flexed and just have like a light bend in the arms. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Seeing if you can get a little bit deeper. Maybe you also need to spread your legs a little bit further apart. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. This time, I'm going to invite you to bend your left leg so that the sole of your foot meets the right side. And we're going to do the same thing. Inhale, kind of twisting over our leg, and exhale, folding forward. Staying here for a few breaths. Wheeling the arms back up. Switching our legs around, so straightening out the left. Bending our right, letting the soles of our right foot touch the inside of our left leg, keeping your blocks on either side of your shin. Raising your arms up. And exhale, folding forward. And staying here. Inhaling the arms up. And exhale, folding forward. And just breathe into this position for a few breaths. Coming back up, we're going to remove the blocks. And we're going to utilize our bolster. I'm going to turn to face the camera so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I want you to keep your legs as wide open as you can for a straddle. We're going to do a wide-legged forward fold, but kind of utilizing our bolster to help us get deeper into the position. If you want, you can use your blocks too, maybe for where your hands go, and just kind of set them out on the right and left side of your bolster. You want to take your bolster and angle it at like a 45, and it's going to connect to the top of your head. And what we're going to do is we're just going to hold it here, resting our head on the bolster, and just leaning forward and feeling that opening in our hips. And just stay here. We're going to hold this for 5 breaths. On an inhale, slowly coming back up, lifting up, letting the bolster drop. We're going to put the bolster actually on the base of our mat. And we're going to do some hip opening stretches with support of our bolster. So I want you to come back into a tabletop position. You're going to slide that bolster so that if you were to lay down on your side, you are in a comfortable position, but we want to start by bending the left leg and stretching out the left arm. And we're just going to stay here on each side for 5 full rounds of breaths. So inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more round. We're going to bring our left arm in, push ourselves back up. We're going to rotate now to the other side and take 5 breaths on this side, keeping that left leg nice and flat to the mat, stretching and bending our right leg out and extending our right arm for 5 breaths. And the next inhale, bringing that right arm back in and lifting ourselves back up to a tabletop position. We're going to sit back on our feet, and then we're going to move down to our base, putting our feet into a butterfly position with the soles of your feet touch. Just kind of see if you can just get your back nice and straight. And just hold this position here. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Maybe you want to attempt to do a pigeon pose, but because we can't really lay flat on our back, we can start by straightening out our left foot and crossing our right leg over top of our left leg. Your right foot should be flexed and resting on your left knee. And maybe if you want, and you can even utilize the blocks to kind of help in this, just providing a little bit of a lift. You can keep it straight until you get your right foot over top, and then maybe providing a little bit of a bend into that left leg, and just holding this here, using your arms to support your upper half. We're going to hold this for a longer period of time. We're going to aim for 10 breaths on each side, so go at your own pace. On the next inhale, straightening out that left leg, just causing a little bit of ease. Maybe taking that right leg, straightening it out on that block. Bending our left leg so that it is over top of our right flex, so that it's in that figure 4 or adapted pigeon pose, but just how we're sitting down. And if you feel like you want to put a little bit more stretch into the hip, bend into that right foot. And again, we're just staying here for 10 breaths. And when you're ready, straightening out that right leg, maybe dropping that left foot down, maybe just shaking out anything that might not be serving you. We're going to take a heart bench pose, but we're going to definitely utilize some of our props in order to help us get there. So what I recommend is placing the bolster behind you. You can even, if you want, add a towel just for additional support, maybe even places where your shoulders are going to be, because we don't want to lay with a flat back. You can also bring your blocks to the width of your mat, because we're going to keep our legs in a butterfly pose. So bring the soles of your feet to touch. Place the blocks so that they're underneath of your knees, and when we recline back into this heart bench pose, your knees have somewhere to rest and don't feel like they have pressure to kind of stay open. And when you're ready, just lay back gently onto your props, allowing your arms to just open up, and we're going to stay here for a few moments of quiet breath. And on the inhale, slowly just lifting yourself back up. We're going to straighten out our legs before we move into Savasana. Now, with our Savasana, it's important that you know that you should not lay flat on your back. You have a very critical nerve that runs on the left side of your body or your vein, and you don't want to cause any pain to that. So you can take either your blanket and kind of fold it so that it either runs down the center of your spine, but I also like to encourage women to place this a little center but right, so that it gives a little bit more support on that side of our body so that we can ease that tension. I'm also going to invite you, you can either just use your blocks or feel free to place the bolster on top of the blocks to give your legs a little bit of an elevation. And when you're ready, just placing your feet on top of the bolster and just reclining back down for our Shavasana pose. Letting the arms open wide, settling in to this rest posture for the end of our practice. We're going to stay here for about 5 minutes. So just try to cultivate this time to think about good karma, positivity, things that you're looking forward to, and just taking the benefits of this practice to really quiet the mind. Try to get the breaths to be more audible, really feel it inhaling through your nostrils, maybe moving it down to certain parts of the body, and just taking note of how the breath feels and the energy that it's creating. Slowly bringing your awareness back to your mat. Taking in a nice deep breath. Maybe beginning to wiggle your fingers and your toes, bringing some life back into the body. Maybe moving on to rotating the wrists and the ankles. And when you're ready, we're going to roll onto the left side of our body. And just taking a moment here to take a breath. Using that right arm, push your thumbs up to a seated position, bringing those legs back into a seated cross-legged position. Keeping your hands, palms facing up to receive or down for grounding. We're just going to come and bringing our hands to prayer, connecting our thumb knuckles to our heart, bowing our heads in order to seal this practice. It was an honor guiding you on the mat. I wish you all love, peace, and happiness. Namaste. Thanks, everyone. Feel free to come back for another round of Yoga with Alex.